Hello there, and welcome back to the Level 2 lessons for the Star Wars Unlimited Judge program. As always, I'm your host Jonah, and this lesson is going to be the first lesson in leadership. As a Level 2 judge, you'll begin to get some of your first leadership roles at events, usually with 1 or 2 judges under your authority, until you get a little bit more experience. This can sometimes be as the head judge of a small event with under 100 players, or it can be as a team lead, acting as a lieutenant for the head judge of a larger event. As someone in a position of explicit leadership, you have 2 key responsibilities: support your team and ensure that your task is completed. We're going to talk about some strategies that you can use to make accomplishing these responsibilities go a little bit more smoothly. This lesson isn't intended to cover roles of implicit leadership, like having authority or a public reputation within the judge community. We'll touch upon those more in later lessons, likely for higher levels. Now, there are a few things that you can do even before you arrive at the event, both for task management and team building. For both, having a plan makes your day easier. While they say no plan survives contact with the players, and this is true, having a foundation to build off of is better than going in with no expectations for yourself or your team. For your tasks, make sure that you know everything you're responsible for. If you're leading a team, ask the head judge. If you're the head judge, well, it's pretty much everything. Once you know your sphere of responsibility, you can figure out how you want to delegate those responsibilities. Some things can't be delegated. As head judge, you're the one who has to make the final call on rulings and investigations. That can't be delegated. However, you can put other people in charge of specific tasks. You can assign someone to be entirely in charge of deck checks, so you don't have to think about that process while you're running the rest of the event. At a larger scale event, you're not going to have the bandwidth to directly manage everything, much less be involved on a personal level with everything. If you have opening announcements, figure out what key points you want to make in those announcements and write them down. If you're running deck checks or another logistically focused team, figure out how you want to approach it and what your measures of success are. Is it the number of decks checked, the speed at which you check them, the number of issues you discover? You also want to prepare your team. Once you know what you're doing and how you're doing it, it's best practice to message your team either through email or a chat. Emails are better for sending longer briefings, but if you want to begin some team building and introductions, a chat can be more casual and folks may feel a little bit more relaxed and comfortable. However, keep in mind that not everyone is an active user of the various chat platforms we have available, but pretty much everyone has an email, so if you want to make sure people read it, email's more likely the best bet. Now, in your communication, it's important to convey key information, which can vary a bit depending on your role. For head judges, I like to include introductions of who you are and your role at the event, and if your team is small, invite folks to introduce themselves as well. Have a staff schedule, where each judge can expect to be throughout the event, and optionally include a break schedule, start times, end times, more particular tasks, and that sort of information. Key event information such as the format, what time it starts, expected attendance and player cap, any quirks of tournament structuring, for example, it's a 2-day event, or it's multi-format, or something along those lines. Then key judge knowledge. Escalation and consultation procedures are very important, so people know who to go to when they have an issue that they can't handle themselves. And then any high priority recent rules or policy changes. For example, back in Jump to Lightspeed, when we changed draw policy from being a double loss worth 0 points to a draw being worth 1, that was pretty significant, and making sure that judges are aware of that is a good thing to do. Furthermore, if these things aren't previously covered by a tournament organizer, you probably want to include call times for shifts and dress code and uniform expectations. For team leads, it's somewhat similar, having those introductions, who you are, and inviting the team to introduce themselves, and then talking about the tasks. What responsibilities fall under your team's purview, general overview of how those tasks will be completed, and then specific roles within that team. This is your first interaction with your team, and if you haven't worked with them before, or even if you have, it's important to present a good first impression. While some judges are very experienced or ready to go with the flow and adapt constantly, having a solid foundation that everyone is aware of makes the event stronger and a smoother experience for many. Now, you also want to be prepared to adapt and deviate from your plan if necessary. Frequently, you'll arrive at the event and something will have changed. An additional prize needs to be distributed, or the player cap has changed, or the layout of the room isn't what you expect, or the printer's on the fritz. It may be minor, it may be major, but your plan probably won't work without some adaptation. Being prepared to change your plans is important. However, you don't want to stray too far afield. If you stay more closely aligned with your original plan, only deviating slightly, when things get back on track, it'll be easier to return to the plan. If you start flying by the seat of your pants without an eye on your original track, it'll be nearly impossible to return to it. However, when you start leading, you'll often get caught up in solving the ongoing challenges that arise, and you won't be able to take a step back and examine the whole situation. You'll be on the front lines fighting the fires, and while you're able to handle the issue in front of you, you won't be able to prevent other issues from cropping up. Taking a moment to step back and allow the problem to continue to exist in front of you can give you time to take a look at the big picture and identify if there's something of higher priority, or if there's something that you can very quickly and easily keep from becoming a problem. However, this skill of stopping fixing things and letting things be a problem to look around you is very difficult and can be very unnatural. Now, as we've mentioned before, when you're in a leadership role, it's important to be able to delegate some of your responsibilities. While, for example, you may be the lead of the deck checks team and you're responsible for ensuring that deck checks get done, you're obviously not expected to swoop and pick up all the decks and perform all the deck checks yourself and return them to the players if you have 2 or 3 other judges assigned to your team. They're there to help you. The role of hierarchy in events is one of support. Floor judges support their team lead so that their team lead can focus on making sure the tasks get done. The team lead supports the head judge so the head judge is available for their tasks that they can't delegate, and the head judge ensures that the tournament organizer doesn't have to get involved. In the other direction, the tournament organizer ensures that the head judge has the resources for success, the head judge gives guidance and mentorship and support to the team leads, and the leads offer the same to floor judges. Some may glibly say that it's the job of floor judges to ensure that the head judge doesn't have to do any work, but it's more accurate to say that it's their job to ensure that the head judge is available for the high priority work that necessitates their experience. However, this doesn't mean that when there isn't an investigation, appeal, or logistical challenge, that the head judge or team lead does nothing. Instead, that's a great opportunity for them to actually lead their team. Seeing a head judge or team lead taking calls, performing a deck check, posting pairings, picking up trash, pushing in chairs, shadowing calls, all of these should be things that you expect. While at some events the judges in leadership positions will be busy and not be able to do so, when things are calmer, it's important to take an active role in your event and judge it alongside everyone else, and to take on the tasks that you ask others to assist you with. As we mentioned at the start of the lesson, leaders have 2 major goals: completing the task and supporting their team. The first is very obvious and often has clear markers for success. Did end of round complete without any missing results? Did you complete a thorough deck check in a timely manner? Were pairings posted and taken down appropriately? Because it's easy to measure, task completion is what most leads focus on. Not only is it clear when you succeed, but it's also clear when you fail. Furthermore, it's often the area where new leads get the most feedback. It's easy to provide actionable feedback on task completion. I can say, this is the thing that went wrong. You can see that the pairings weren't posted. On top of that, screwing up task completion has a direct impact on the player experience the vast majority of the time. End of round being slow can exhaust players, poor deck checks can confuse or frustrate them. This all creates an environment where judges who are new to leadership positions focus almost solely on task completion and don't address the team aspect of the role outside of a perfunctory introduction at the beginning of the day. However, judges are also participants in the event, and it's important that judges have a positive experience as well. I often say that we're not judging for the money or for the glory, it's for the sheer love of the game and the community. If you keep your team separated in a dozen different places and never bring them together or never try to connect with them, you're failing in some ways. For some folks, having big team meetings and rallying cries is effective. For others, who may be a little bit quieter or more introverted, having one-on-one conversations and encouraging judges on your team to speak to each other and shadow each other can help develop those connections. You're not only in a position of authority, but you're in a position of leadership. Now, many people, especially in their first few leadership positions, feel like they don't belong there, that there are other more qualified judges who can take their spot and do better. Being in a leadership role means that someone, whether it's the head judge or tournament organizer, or whoever made the schedule, someone believes that this is a good fit for you. They might not think that you're the best judge for the job, but they believe that you have potential and want to foster that growth. They may even assign a more experienced judge to be on your team to help support and mentor you, but that doesn't mean that the other judge should have your role. If schedule makers only put the best people in leadership roles constantly, it would stifle the growth of the community and when a person in that hypothetical elite left, it would leave a gap that's hard to fill. Instead, sharing our knowledge with our peers and lifting each other up means that the community grows stronger. There's a lot more advice to give on being an effective leader. There's a ton of literature out there on the subject, and you can find many books that provide guidance. Here are a few points to keep in mind. 1. Be direct but respectful when telling folks what to do. Listen to members of your team. Ask questions, both of your team, your peers, and your superiors. Show initiative to get things done, but don't ignore directions. And then, possibly most importantly, have fun and take care of yourself. If you're not taking care of yourself or having fun, your team will pick up on it and not have fun themselves. That about wraps us up for this one. Our next lesson covers the specific topic of setting up a top 8 and the procedures and things to look out for. Later lessons that expand on the content in this lesson include the Level 2 lesson on large event structure and the one on delivering feedback, which also expands on what was covered in the Level 1 lesson on feedback. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want more Level 2 lessons in your feed, go ahead and subscribe. Join us Tuesdays and Fridays on twitch.tv/SWU_judges for live broadcasts covering the content of these lessons as they are released, and join the Star Wars Unlimited Judge Program Discord to join the community in discussion of this and much, much more. As always, good luck and have fun.